12 News at 10 with Mark Curtis and Caribe Divine starts now.
We begin tonight with new developments surrounding teen violence cases in the East Valley. 12 News has learned that 3 of the suspects charged in those cases have been offered plea deals, and they've accepted them. Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us for 12 News at 10. I'm Caribe Divine.
And I'm Mark Curtis. The 3 suspects are involved in 3 separate cases, and all of them are pleading guilty to aggravated assault. 12 News journalist Bianca Bono has read through the court records and joins us live in studio tonight. And Bianca, what will their sentences be?
Guys, aggravated assault is a crime that carries a presumptive sentence of 1 year and a minimum of 6 months. But none of these 3 will spend any time behind bars. After a slew of arrests across the East Valley in connection to violent group-style attacks involving teens and young adults, the cases are making their way through the justice system. And 3 of the suspects arrested in 3 separate cases have accepted plea deals.
Aggravated assault.
Out of Pinal County, suspect Garrett Bagshaw has agreed to plead guilty to aggravated assault in connection to this November attack. He was arrested in January after he was seen on video attacking a teen. Prosecution in his case was suspended so he can enter into a diversion program. He was charged alongside Jacob Pennington, who has accepted his own plea deal in a separate aggravated assault case. That attack happening on December 2nd, 2022. Gilbert police say the now 20-year-old was one of 3 suspects who attacked a victim outside the Gilbert In-N-Out. Police say they received videos of the attack in January of this year, leading to the arrest of Pennington, Tyler Freeman, and William Owen Hines. Hines is one of the 7 suspects accused of killing 16-year-old Preston Lord in another group-style attack in October of last year. Pennington agreed to plead guilty to aggravated assault in exchange for supervised probation and 100 hours of community service.
They tackled him and he hit his head.
The final agreement stems from the August attack of Rick Keener's son, also outside of the Gilbert In-N-Out. Suspect Deleon Haynes was one of multiple attackers who moved in on Keener's son, punching and kicking him in the parking lot.
I even have footprints on his shirt.
Haynes pleaded guilty to aggravated assault and will be placed on supervised probation and also must complete community service. And when asked about the deals extended to these suspects, Maricopa County Attorney Rachel Mitchell essentially said, given how many cases her office has to deal with, it would be impossible to take each one to trial, so plea agreements are a tool they use to hold defendants accountable without swamping the criminal justice system. Bianca Bono, 12 News.
Bianca, thanks. New tonight, Camelback High School was put on lockdown earlier today after police found a gun inside a student's car. School officials had received information that 2 students may be armed with guns, and Phoenix police detained the students. Police then discovered a gun in one of their cars, and the lockdown was lifted a short time later. Police are still investigating, and it's unclear tonight if the student is facing any charges.
Developing tonight in Chandler, a 19-year-old man is in custody after allegedly shooting his parents. It happened this morning in Chandler near McQueen and Chandler Heights roads. The parents were taken to the hospital and are in stable condition. Jeremiah Blair is now facing charges of attempted first-degree murder. 12 News caught up with his brother earlier today, who told us that Jeremiah has a history of mental health issues and recently tried to get professional help but was unsuccessful.
I think we need to bring some attention to our procedures or how we approach certain situations, especially like how my brother admitted himself and then got let go, and 2 weeks later we could have had 2 fatalities, and the next person that comes in may not be as lucky as my family.
Police say that the shooting remains under investigation.
A fugitive on the run for reportedly killing his own mother and 2 sisters over the Mother's Day weekend was shot and killed this morning by Arizona State Troopers. It happened on Highway 191 between Morenci and Clifton. 12 News journalist Chase Golightly is here with details on how law enforcement was able to get this guy.
Mark, police say the murders happened more than 1,000 miles away in Mississippi and believe the suspect was doing everything he could to get as far away as possible.
A mom and her 2 daughters killed in cold blood by their own son and brother.
This is a terrible situation.
That's according to Police Chief Brian Myers with the Ridgeland Police Department out of Mississippi, where he says the 3 women were murdered.
We've never had a triple homicide. For sure, this is a new one for us.
The suspect, identified as Ivory James Welch III, took off. Within 24 hours, Myers says Welch drove all the way to eastern Arizona.
I think he was just driving to create distance.
Despite the distance, Chief Myers reveals how they were able to find him.
He had the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force tracking his cell phone.
A tool retired FBI Special Agent Michael E. Anderson says is key in finding fugitives.
Since they can track a cell phone to within 4 to 5 feet. So it's used very often in fugitive type cases or other cases where you're trying to geolocate someone.
The Arizona Department of Public Safety says Welch was spotted in the Safford area Monday morning. They finally caught up to him on US 191 near Morseni.
They tried to pull him over and he got out with a gun.
Mississippi police says Welch opened fire at DPS. However, officials with the department tell 12 News they cannot confirm that at this time, only saying Welch reportedly showed a gun and troopers opened fire. Welch was shot and killed at the scene. No troopers were hurt.
Chief Myers says they are still trying to figure out a motive behind this triple murder, but says they learned that the suspect and the victims had some sort of argument shortly before the deadly shooting. We're live in the studio. Chase Golightly, 12 News.
Such an awful story. Chase, thank you. Now to the very latest on a fire happening west of Safford that we told you about earlier at 6:30. Sky 12 over the scene of the Rayf fire earlier this afternoon, capturing lots of flames and some very intense smoke there coming up from a river bottom. The Bureau of Land Management says that it's burned about 30 acres so far, and officials are still investigating how it started. The Graham County Sheriff's Office says that the fire isn't threatening any structures at this time.
Now to the latest on Arizona's abortion law. After a key ruling by the state Supreme Court today, the new ruling virtually ends the possibility that the state's 160-year-old near total abortion ban would ever become law. The court agreed to give Attorney General Chris Mays 90 days for a possible appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. That extension means that the ban's effective date would be September 26th. But the repeal passed by the legislature recently is also expected to become law around that date, if not sooner, meaning the near total ban would never actually go into effect.
Every day you likely pass one of these controversial guardrails on Arizona roads. 12 News has now learned the location of more than 4,000 of the same type of guardrail that was involved in a deadly crash on I-17 back in February. 12 News journalist Colleen Sikora uncovered that story and has more on why these have been controversial for years.
Critics have long blamed the ET+ end terminals with severely injuring and killing people, but ADOT tells us they're not proactively replacing them. From the US 60 in Mesa to the 202 near downtown Phoenix, Arizona highways have thousands of ET+ guardrail end terminals.
They're everywhere in Arizona, and it's simply unacceptable.
Including on I-17 south of Cordes Junction in February.
I just think about like the second we make contact.
When Jet Weinstein and Jackson Elliott crashed into one.
I remember it coming through the car like this.
Jet lost his right leg, his friend Jackson killed in the crash.
He was a funny guy. He's my ski partner. He was my only ski friend that I had. I was a snowboard guy.
Miss him.
Yeah, I do.
This kind of result.
It made me angry because you know the problem is known by Trinity.
John Sugar and Patrick Stevie filed a class action lawsuit against Trinity, the maker of the ET+.
The accident that happened in February in your city is exactly what Pat and I were fighting for the whole time to try to prevent. What we warned people about.
In the original suit filed in 2015, the attorneys claimed a design flaw. Trinity settled in 2022 the agreement worth $56 million.
Instead of behaving as it should, it locks up and that guardrail then becomes a knife or a missile into the vehicle, right through the engine block, right into the passenger compartment, killing people or taking limbs.
What do you make of that agreement, given that Trinity doesn't admit fault?
We were never going to settle this case unless part of the agreement was to get those end terminals off the road.
These same types of guardrails Trinity agreed to pay to be found and replaced on Missouri roads. But in a statement to 12 News, a Trinity Industries spokesperson says they stand by the ET+, saying it's the most tested highway safety product of its kind and it meets all applicable safety performance criteria.
They know of the problem, but they continue to fight not to take these things off the road.
ADOT tells us these were removed from their approved products list in 2014, but still more than 4,000 remain on Arizona's roads, including this one on the 60 near Power Road.
I would love to be able to understand why somebody thought it was a good decision to no longer approve these end caps going forward, but think that there isn't a problem with the 4,184 existing ones. That's completely illogical.
In a statement to 12 News, a spokesperson says the end terminals aren't replaced unless they're damaged or ADOT does new construction. James Fusitola is a personal injury attorney representing JET.
I would want ADOT, again, to accept my invitation to sit down urgently and figure out a plan to fix this problem. It's a known problem. Let's have Trinity, or now Voltaire, fix the problem, as they were forced to do in Missouri. And if, as I suspect, they won't agree to that, let's hold them accountable.
In regards to the crash, a spokesperson for Trinity Industries added in their statement, at this time it would not be appropriate to comment regarding an ongoing crash investigation.
What would you like to see done with them?
I would like to see them all be changed, fixed, to be able to save people and not hurt them.
12 News asked Governor Katie Hobbs if she'd put money in the state budget to replace some or all of the controversial guardrails.
It's something I have to look more at, but overall in our budget, we are prioritizing Arizonans' health and safety, and that's an important piece of it.
We were hoping, frankly, that other states would follow suit.
Stevie and Sherger say Missouri was, like Arizona, only replacing ET+ end terminals as necessary or during new construction until seeing the merits of the case.
It's going to take other departments of transportation to be willing to take action, or otherwise they're just, these end terminals are going to remain on the highways of many, many states for, it could be many, many years.
And we have asked ADOT for an interview specifically on these end terminals and this crash. Our requests have been denied. ADOT telling us in a written statement, continuing to use end terminals that met standards when they were installed and replacing them as they become damaged or for new construction meets federal standards. And we also asked ADOT if they requested any money in the state budget to replace these end terminals. A spokesperson did not answer that question. Colleen Sikora, 12 News.
All right, Colleen, thank you.